Hi everybody, Joey here again, and welcome back to part 5 of the office aquarium build. And in today's video, we're going to scape the aquarium and stock it. If you've been following the entire series, you'll know that we built the aquarium, the filtration, the stand, and then we set it all up. However, the number one thing that everybody wants to see is the fish. You guys have been hounding me for what is the stocking for this aquarium and taking all kinds of guesses, and a lot of you got pretty close. And all through this series and watching the comments and you guys guess, I've kind of been having a pretty good chuckle to myself. Why? I already showed you guys these fish in a past video. About 6 weeks ago, I did a video on how to add fish to your aquarium, and one of the fish that I showed being acclimated was the fish for the new office aquarium. Yet all of this time, thousands and thousands of you guys were oblivious. Now that video was on acclimation, however, what I showed was the quarantine tank for these new fish. And when I got these fish, that's exactly what I did first. I set up a quarantine aquarium, as you all should always have on hand. You know, it's unfortunate, but many people in the hobby don't quarantine their fish properly or long enough. So I'm taking this opportunity to remind you of how easy it can be. First, I set up a small aquarium. As you can see, I just have a small spare aquarium. Although if I didn't have an aquarium, I just use a clear tote that I can see into. It doesn't have to be fancy. Then, as you can see, I built a filter out of a water bottle and a power head. I've shown you guys how to build these things many times before, and I don't just show you how to build them. I use them myself because I believe in them. It's just filled with some ceramic media that I already had cycled from one of my other aquariums. Once again, you guys know that I love to have a lot of extra cycled media within my aquariums or sumps, just for this purpose. Then I added in a heater. Now you can also add in some decorations or something for cover, and given the type of fish that I'm adding, I added in a variety of spare PVC parts. They sink and I already had plenty on hand. Now that happened almost 10 weeks ago. They sat in that quarantine tank for a month. It was during that month that I built the entire system. And what that means is I had the fish before I built the system. Meaning obviously I already knew what the stocking was going to be right from the start. Now if you haven't been able to guess what type of fish these are based on seeing them in the quarantine tank, you'll definitely know once we move into the aquascaping. The fish I chose for this aquarium were African shell dwellers. Specifically exLAMPROLOGUS SIMILIS. Now this is an African shell dweller from Lake Tanganyika. Now this is actually my favorite lake from Africa, and I've kept more species of cichlids from that lake than any other. Now when it came to the office aquarium, I wanted to do some African cichlids again, almost to keep up with the theme that I'm kind of going with this office, which is a variety of types of aquariums. So far you guys know about the goldfish aquarium, the monster aquarium with the arowana, the planted aquarium, and now the office aquarium. The office aquarium going to be an African cichlid tank. And when it comes to African cichlids, there's tons of smaller species that do really well in smaller aquariums. However, I've been wanting to revisit shell-dwelling cichlids for a long time, so I jumped on this opportunity to do so. Now I'm going to get into why I chose them and what makes them so interesting in a few minutes, but for now, let's get back into scaping the tank. Now with the aquarium set up and the fish properly quarantined and they're ready to be added to the main aquarium, all I did was make sure the water perimeters matched. However, before adding them to the aquarium, I had to do some aquascaping. Now obviously shell-dwelling cichlids require shells in the aquarium. The shells that I added to the aquarium were a variety of sizes, essentially 3 different sizes. 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2 inch. They're just rounded shells of various different colors that I picked up on Amazon. I added about 100 to the tank, first boiling them to make sure that they were safe for the aquarium. Once added to the tank, most of them will float because they trap air, so you have to actually individually remove the air, which is kind of annoying, but once you do, you don't have to do it again. Then I spaced them randomly throughout the aquarium and slightly pushed them into the substrate. Again, I left the substrate flat and didn't really mess with the interior because I want to show you what these types of fish will do. I got about 20 Similis to start, which is a really good colony to start out with. It means that I'm going to get a good variety of females and males. After the first day of adding them to the aquarium, for the most part, all they did was hide in the shells, which was to be expected. However, as the days progressed and they became more and more comfortable in the aquarium, they started to act the way they're supposed to, which is create their own territories and make their own homes. They'll do this by moving the shells around, burying some of the shells, establishing their territories, and really just taking the sand and building it up to however they want. Within a day, the entire aquascape was entirely different, and it's one that will constantly change. Within a couple of weeks, the colony was established and breeding started. There's at least 3 breeding pairs in this tank, and they're all producing fry at this point. So obviously the entire system was a success, noted by the fish that are actually breeding in it. Now this entire build was nowhere near as exciting or as rewarding as watching these fish. And let me tell you why. I'm going to be looking at this tank all day long. It's in my office and it's right in front of me. No matter what day I look at this tank or what area of the tank I'm looking at, there's always something different going on. It's entirely interesting to watch what they do. They're constantly rescaping the sand, preparing their homes, going through breeding dances, males fighting each other, or some other purposeful activity. This is a tank that I am addicted to watching. Now the one thing that makes these guys cute is obviously the shells. They become their homes. They hide in them, they raise their fry in them, and if anybody comes too close, they dash inside of them. Every once in a while peeking their little heads out seeing if the coast is clear. So again, this is one of the most interesting fish you can keep on a smaller scale. Especially if you appreciate a cichlid's personality and a lot of the traits that go with them. And that was the whole point to this entire system, was to keep a fish that will keep me interested and give me the opportunity and ability to promote a fish that doesn't get a lot of love in the hobby, or at least as much as it should. I think in the future at some point I'll most likely do some sort of a species profile on these guys and give you a lot more information on them and make it entirely more interesting. So if that's something you'd like to see, let me know in the comments section below, or if you're not subscribed yet, make sure you do if that's something you'd like to see. But for now, I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. I'd also like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next Sunday for a new do-it-yourself project.